that down, let's kind of stick on the topic of box office here for a moment, shall we? You know, it was like a gut punch followed by an uppercut to the movie industry when you had the pandemic, and then just as everything was getting fully back to normal, the crippling actors and writers strikes happened. And it shut the whole industry down again, and it kind of crippled the business again in ways that it still hasn't recovered. But here's an interesting little note. According to Deadline, Disney has made $5 billion at the box office this year, the first time a studio has hit that number since the pandemic hit. The first time it's hit that number since the pandemic hit. They go on to write this. They said, after becoming the first studio of 2024 to hit $2 billion at the domestic box office earlier this week, Disney has now claimed a new milestone. Based on today's estimates, the Walt Disney Studios has crossed $5 billion globally. The total worldwide estimate is $5.06 billion. Of that, $2.054 billion comes from North America and $3.006 billion from the international box office. Per Disney, it will be the only studio to cross this threshold in 2024. It is also the first time that any studio has surpassed the $5 billion worldwide since 2019. For those keeping score, this is the sixth time that Disney has grossed more than $5 billion globally since 2010. All right.
But that one investor said they were doomed.
Yeah, well, yeah, but the guy said, Cravensworth said they were done. Of course, his real name is Perlmutter, but I call him Cravensworth. And then, like, we're in a terrible place. Oh, we're doomed. Yeah, we had made $5 billion, first studio to do it since the pandemic.
And they released some bangers this year. I really like the Apes movie, and then also Romulus was really good.
And then, of course, the two big ones. You got Inside Out 2, which is the biggest film of the year. Deadpool and Wolverine, which is, I think, the second biggest film of the year. Yeah. Moana's crossing $800 million today. So they've had like a really good year. Now, here's why I think this is significant. Okay. Obviously, that's really good for Disney. So good for them. And if any of the studios were going to lead the way out of the darkness of trying to emerge from that double whammy of pandemic and strike era, it was probably going to be Disney. And sure enough, they came through and delivered sixth time in the company's history that they've delivered a $5 billion at the box office year. Now, here's the thing. This is why I think this is pretty key. There's a saying that's been going around the movie industry and the theatrical industry for about 6 months. And my own business manager has just constantly echoed this to me. Survive to 25. That's been this mantra going around the industry. Survive to 25. Because the whole industry has really believed that the emerging out of the darkness of the pandemic and strikes whammies was really going to start to emerge from that the end of this year and especially going into next year. A very large, robust, diverse, massive release slate is coming out in 2025. Remember, a lot of this year was kind of hampered. A lot of the releases got pushed out because of the strikes and all that kind of thing. So the whole mantra of the industry has been survive to 2025, survive to 25, because the implication of that is things are going to get a lot better in 2025. Well, I got to admit, I've kind of dismissed that whole saying, but seeing Disney being able to accomplish this, seeing the box office numbers, particularly that we had in the second half of 2024, because remember, the first half of 2024 started slow, guys.
Yeah.
I remember in the first half of 2024, a lot of people very reasonably were kind of sounding the alarms and saying, is the movie industry dead? Then remember we had movies like Furiosa flop hard. We had movies like Fall Guy flop hard. We had a significant number of disappointments. And in the first half of the year, there was a lot going on that made a lot of people go, I wonder if this whole thing's done. Second half of the year really turned it around. And now we're getting into that place where everybody's been saying survive to 25.
Yep.
And there is something, like I said earlier, that's kind of appropriate about Disney being the one that's kind of leading everybody out. But other studios have had massive successes this year as well, right? When you're looking at things like Wicked and stuff like that, there have been some big hits. It's done well. They seem to survive. And now we'll see what kind of numbers we can get going into 25. Anyway, guys, question is for you. What do you think about this? Disney becomes the first studio since 2019, when the pandemic struck, that has hit the $5 billion mark in one box office year. Do you think that's going to carry momentum for it and other studios going into 2025 with the whole Survive to 25? There's a huge long list of big movies coming out in 25. We got to do our most anticipated movies of 2025 next week, I think.
Yeah,
before the new year hits.
I agree.
So anyway, how do you feel about this, guys? Whatever your thoughts are, jump down to the comment section below and leave your thoughts there. Hey guys, thanks so much for watching this video. Make sure you like the video, leave a comment, and subscribe to our channel. And don't forget, we have a daily podcast called the John Campea Show podcast, available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or your favorite podcasting app of choice. Go and subscribe to it today so it'll be there when you need it.